presentation and special report on the comments. I will look favorably upon any motions regarding the agenda. Senator Hogan.
Senator Hogan, Shear, Hers, sophomore class senator, I move to amend the agenda to move the veto override after the approval of minutes.
Second.
Objection to the text.
All right. Now moving to debate.
Senator Hogan, Shear, Hers, sophomore class senator. I know of 3 senators who have to leave this meeting early, being that we all want to get the budget over with because we all are complaining that it's been prolonged from meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. I think we should go ahead and get this vote over with, and then we can move on to the actual substantive things that our organization has been supposed to be doing.
Ayana Willoughby, Shear, her sophomore class senator. I understand this, but it has taken a lot of time. And so where we have business that actually affects students outside of this room, I think we should go ahead and address that.
Someone back there have it. One more. Senator Hogan.
Senator Hogan, Shear, her sophomore class senator. I moved the previous question.
All right. Second. She just moved to second debate.
And vote immediately.
Second. All right. We're going to go ahead and vote. Well, first we're just going to do a yes and no vote. So all in favor of amending the agenda to put the budget, you said after approval of minutes?
Orders. I apologize. I didn't hear the consent. My bad.
Okay, good. So Senator Hogan's motion is to move the override vote to after approval of minutes. All in favor, please say by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay. We're going to do it's 2/3.
Wait, no one touched the hand.
Is it majority or 2/3? Okay. All right. So we're going to do this by eye clicker. Are they working? We have them back. So.
Okay, everyone, can you listen to the instructions I'm about to give you? Hold your eye clicker and hold down the on and off button. Hold onto it until this power button blinks. And then when it blinks, let go and hold A down for a second, and then let go and hold it down again, and it should move to green.
Anyone needs any help, please raise your hand. I'll be there to assist you.
If I press A, then it goes red.
And no, you press it again after that, and it'll go green.
Is it supposed to stay green?
Huh?
Is it supposed to stay green?
No, after that, you're good to vote after that.
Is everybody good? Okay, let's second. She's going to get this.
All you do is press and hold this. It'll go like that. Let go. Press the A. Let go. Press the A again. And then it'll go green. And then I'll still help you. So just like raise your hand. The green goes away after you get it, but as soon as you get it once, you're good. If you haven't, has anyone not gotten the green light? Okay. Cool.
All right. So majority vote to pass. So yes is in favor of Senator Hogan's motion to move the budget to after approval minutes. No is no, and C is abstain. D is no, C is abstain. And let's go.
A is yes.
A is yes, D is no, C is abstain. A is yes, B is no, C is abstain. Yeah, A is yes to do what Senator Hogan said, and B is no. C is yes.
Okay, 34.
Does everyone have a mic clicker? Oh.
Wait, let me see. All right, it's 15 yes, 18 no, 2 abstain.
All right, and as the chair, motion failed. So, since,
Seeing as we want to get to the business that will affect the student body outside of this organization, I move to put cabinet reports informal discussion after the override consideration.
so back to where it usually goes.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Objection to consent.
Okay. Senator Thompson?
Senator Thompson, she heard us talk about business. Our cabinet never gets to speak, neither do our advisors, and they need to sit at the top.
Senator Sloan?
I feel like a lot of the information that they could be giving us could be reported via email if necessary, and because they could report via email, I feel like we should do what we have to in person now and take this opportunity to actually consider business that's going to affect the student body.
Senator Hogan?
Senator Hogan, she heard her sophomore class senator. This is the Senate meeting. The meeting of the Senate. I move the previous, if you want to, I move the previous question.
Point of order, what are we in right now?
She made a motion, we're in debate, and she made a motion to move the previous question. So, yeah, is that, it's a non-debatable motion. Are you? Second.
Yeah, I'm objecting to general consent.
Objecting to general consent.
Now we vote.
Yeah, vote on the objection. So, we'll do it by clicker again because I feel like it's going to be divided again. So, if you're in favor of Jay's objection,
to move cabinet reports and informal discussion to
Currently, I believe we're considering Senator Hogan's motion of the previous question.
yes, and
that was
Jay objected to it, so I thought we were voting on the objection. Is that correct?
That's not an objectionable motion. You can object to general consent, and we can vote on the previous question.
Okay, so we're just going to vote on moving the previous question. So, moving the previous question, A is yes, B is no, C is abstain. You know the drill. It's a 2/3. We're moving she's motioning to end debate on the motion about the yes, A is ending debate, B is not ending debate, C is abstaining. And it requires a 2/3 vote.
It is 24 yes, 9 no, 3 abstain.
So that's 2/3. So we will now vote on Senator Slayon's motion to add cabinet reports and informal discussion to the end of the meeting. So we just yes. Okay. You sure?
Yes.
Senator Kelly.
Just a quick point of information. If you vote and then you get a little green light, that means it went through, but if it doesn't pop up or if it's red, that means it did not go through, just in case. Because we haven't used it, but so.
All right. So now voting on Senator Slayon's motion about moving cabinet reports and informal discussion to the floor adjournment. So all in favor, please say, please vote A, opposed B, abstain C. And majority of the
That's 16 yes, 19 no, 1 abstention.
And the ayes of the chair, that motion fails. Any other motions regarding the agenda? Senator Martin.
I need to remove my special report.
Sorry to disappoint, I can't do it today.
Consent.
Another day.
All right. I said it's gone, but it's actually gone.
Oh,
Sorry, no, it was right before you came. Senator Keller.
You have to approve the agenda.
Second.
Objection to general consent.
All right. Thank you.
Are we voting again? The previous question.
Previous question?
Consent.
All right. We're going to vote on Bridget's motion to approve approve the agenda. So, again, and we're getting that homework out. Yes.
Does it matter that the usage act is actually SB 053-01?
The what?
Just the Clean Usage Act, it's supposed to be 018. Does that matter if we approve the agenda?
To me, it does. It's clear for me that it's the Clinical Usage Act. And then there was a little bit of confusion too about just numbering and everything like that. But yeah. So for the agenda, A, B, C. And the ayes. Yeah. Please vote for it. Senator Gass.
Senator Gass, the bill that Senator Mullins and I had is
no, it's in the rest of the agenda. It's on another slide. I forgot to add it. It's Roots Garden Support Act in there. I promise you.
All right.
good bill.
7 yes, 7 no, 1 abstention.
All right. Ayes of the chair. And then the agenda is approved. All right, moving on. I will now seek a motion regarding approval of last meeting's minutes there in the draft, correct?
Still moved.
All right. Minutes approved. This is before our advisor speaks in some formal discussions. First, if any senator wishes to promote an event outside of SGA or any sort of just any sort of hey, this is going on sort of thing, that's what this is for, if anyone's planning to do that. Yes. Senator Lockett.
Senator Lockett, just real quick, my sorority is having a bake sale tomorrow and Thursday, if anyone wants to buy a baked good for the Church of Good Ones.
Thank you. Senator Kern.
Senator Kern, Special Interest Office of Sustainability. The Office of Sustainability is doing Thanksgiving grants and upcycling stuff in the Union on Thursday from 1 to 3. You can come in, you can make stuff. It's really cool. We're going to be kind of right outside the Multicultural Center. You should all come and be a lot of fun.
Thank you. Senator Hogan.
Charge of personal privilege with intent.
See you soon. Anybody else wish to share anything? All right, we will now move into our advisory remarks.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out some time. Nothing super official on this end, but I did want to remind you folks who may not know, tomorrow is Trans Day of Visibility, and the LGBT Center in collab with the Multicultural Student Development Office will be putting on some programming. I'm trying to figure out the time right now, so if you're interested in that, I'll probably make a comment before sending it completely adjourned later on today, or I'll ask Melissa to send that to you all in the email, so whoever their respective position is. Sorry, I didn't know there. But that's it. Just kidding, it's 7:30 tomorrow.
Honestly, just looking ahead, this is a follow-up on Senate Retreat. We are going to be putting together a couple workshops. Probably one will be before classes even start in January, and another to be shortly after classes start. It'll be a repeat of the same one. Volunteering, the invites to come to one of them, and the workshop will be on student advocacy, trying to function as a student space, develop your network, and probably leverage your voice in trying to promote
Your Honor, continue. All right, now we're going to academy reports. I'll be brief. I put a legislative tracker. It's not necessarily I'm not trying to be like Big Brother and see what y'all are doing or anything like that. I just essentially I know a few people are working on stuff, but I just kind of hey, what are people working on so people don't do the same thing as them. With internet. Yeah, sorry. And yeah, even if it's just an idea and you've actually done nothing on it, just brainstorm ideas. I don't think one person's put in something so far. So and everyone has editing power, so it looks pretty boring right now the way I made it. So I want to decorate it all. That's good. And then just looking forward, this is our last Senate meeting, so just in terms of just think about, I want to just reflect on this semester and then what we want going into next semester, and that's Any questions for me? All right, John, got anything?
Sir. Wait, yes, this Board of Trustees is Friday from 8 to probably about 4. If you can come to any of the sessions, please do. They'll be posted outside of the student union. They'll be on all the doors and windows, and you can also go online. But if you come to the Board of Trustees and I see you there, I'm more than willing to sit down with you on Sunday and debrief about everything that we talked about, everything that happens behind the scenes, so that you know what's happening at our university. As long as you just come to the meeting.
Mine was just the same, yeah.
Madam?
Hey, so my task force has to do with the Board of Trustees that is happening on Saturdays. Basically, what my task force is gonna do is we were supposed to go over what is gonna be said, because it was implemented. I was kind of my fault, a little late. We're gonna just debrief on what was said and then kind of follow up on what is gonna be talked about. The next Board of Trustee meeting, invitations are gonna go out. I'm hoping by Thursday, and so if you get an email, or if you really, really want to be on this task force, if you're interested in politics, really want to know what goes on in Board of Trustee meeting, see me, get after this meeting, and hit up my phone, hit up my email, like, I don't care, text me at 12 a.m., I'll be up. So, that's that. Other events. If you guys have any events that you want to do, like, that involve voter registration, voter engagement, Jenna has come to me and said she wants to plan an event. That's great. Please do. The primaries are going to come up super quick when we get back in the spring semester. So there's going to be a bunch of events with that. If you don't know what the primaries are, also hit my phone. I'll explain it to you. Besides that, seriously, if you have any event you want to plan, get done, even if it's just like out in the community you want to get involved with, hit me up. I'll help you for sure. That's all.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, actually, no, I'm sorry.
That's okay. But ASG will be this weekend at Western Carolina. We have about 7 people going, and later on during the meeting, we'll be able to approve the delegates selected for this weekend's meeting. And the Fall Initiative has officially been released to us, and I will send it to you all via email. And I would really appreciate if you all send it to your different constituencies and different organizations and clubs, because this will give us an idea of what the event for the spring initiative will look like, and so we can go ahead and start planning that out. So yeah, that's all I have, please.
All right, hello. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was Michael Barrett presented at the last Senate meeting, I believe, the university's enrollment goal of 20,000, and I thought there was some really good discussion in this space about that goal. So I think if any of you guys are interested, I am setting up a meeting with IRAP admissions. I'm hoping we can get some talented people in. Sort of as a forum, just a discussion of what exactly is happening. Let's find out the facts. Let's have this conversation with the administrators so we can find out exactly what is happening before we rush to anything, if that makes sense. Also, the second thing I believe I have, I'm going to be establishing a task force that's going to help address a problem I feel like is pretty prevalent on campus sometimes. Something that was really influential for me in my first year here was mentoring, and I know that there's a lot of programs out there, but I'm looking to start one with faculty members because I think that faculty-student relationship definitely could be improved. So if you're interested in being on a task force like that, please let me know. Invitations will be going out at some point next week, probably. You don't have to look at it because it's great, but it's okay. We'll start meeting when you come back. The third one, orientation. So orientation is moving from a 2-day program to a 1-day program. The lowdown on that, I met with Nikki Priest today, is basically that a lot of the things that they're going to be doing in the 1-day program are going to be focused on our values and what we expect of students, academic integrity, those kinds of things. And then they're kind of transforming Welcome Weekend to be Welcome to App. And it'll be sort of having those workshops that you go through during orientation, but in that space when you come to campus. And all the orientation days will be in June, and then one in August still. But then you have that month of July to prepare. They will give you your advising packet at your orientation, and then you get to look through that and kind of start planning. So when you come back for fall, you can hit the ground running, which I think is a really good idea. If any of you guys are interested in learning more about that, I am setting up a meeting for Nikki Priest to come here and present to Senate to talk about exactly what is happening. So be looking out for that.
I met with Campus 9. Oh, this is my most exciting one, guys. I'm really excited about this. Please come to this. So, I met with Campus 9, and we have been able to create a program where during finals, the Crossroads will be open until 2 a.m. starting reading day and ending the 10th. So that's another additional space for you guys to study. If you just want to go grab some coffee, if you need another place, like you're up late at night, you got an exam, you really need a place that's quiet, please go there. I will have promotional materials that will be going out hopefully by the end of this week, but I just wanted to let you guys know that this is happening. Please use it because they said that if this goes well, they're definitely interested in doing more, and I know they really want to help the students. So if this is something you want, make sure you use it, tell your friends, let them know. I have a meeting at the end of this week with the General Education Curriculum Committee, and we're going to talk about sustainability in the General Education program. So if any of you guys are interested in that or want to come voice your concerns about that to me before that meeting, my email is at my desk in the office. It's taped on there. I can't see. Oh, officers with the provost. It just happened today. It was really great. A lot of great discussion. If you guys want to connect with the provost or learn more about what is happening in academic affairs, I encourage you to use that space. That's a forum basically for you to go and talk to the provost and the vice chancellor and all these different people, and a great place to get your questions answered if you have any. So there's going to be one in March and one in April of second semester. So, and I will send out that information more when I get it. The last one, so I'm working with Victoria on the Library Affairs campaign. This is starting, I believe, reading day as well. They're going to have coloring, therapy dogs that you can vet. They have free food, free refreshments. It's all going to be in the library throughout the entire exam season. So if you guys need anything, you want to stop by, grab some food, you want to pet a dog, please go there. We're going to have something set up there. We're working on it. If you have suggestions, please let us know.
Great. Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Awesome. I know I'm sick, but I know y'all aren't all sick. How's everybody doing? Good. Awesome, great. My name is Corbin. I am the Deputy Director of Diversity and Inclusion. Jay could not be here. Oh yes, Jay is not here today. So I just wanted to update everybody about what Diversity and Inclusion is doing. So with our so what we're doing basically is we're trying to get together a task force to talk about how can we incorporate wellness and marginalized students' wellness within that. So I just met with a representative from wellness today to talk about specific goals. So some of the things that we're discussing there was like a couple of different goals that we wanted to reach before the end of the semester. So right now we're in the process of drafting emails to different members of administration to see how we can basically talk about some different issues that go on within wellness that are in marginalized students specifically. So if you're interested in learning more about that or seeing the research that I've done, or just finding out about like what do you have at stake, please contact me. I'm in the SGA office, so I'll be seeing me. I know y'all do. If not, like I'm sure Jay could give you my information. I'd be more than happy to like sit down and talk with you. I enjoy dirty chai latte, so if you want to go to Crossroads and get some coffee, we can chop it up and talk about it there. I've made copies of the research. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can get out of those task force and what we can basically, the resources we can utilize from the different administrators about how we can get more resources and information spread out there to support marginalized students and support their mental health, because that's really important to me specifically, and also marginalized students are important to me because I am a marginalized student, so incorporating the two just seems like the best of both worlds. So yeah, if you have any more questions or concerns or whatever, feel free to reach out to me, talk to me, text me, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Thanks y'all.
This is important. Okay. How's everyone doing in Fletcher Gas? Are we feeling well? Anyway, so I have a few things I'm going to pass out first that ties into what I'm talking about. So take a look at them, take pictures, share with your constituents. But a few things to talk about tonight is our 7th annual Suicide Remembrance Month. So it's happening at 7:30 in Legend. So hopefully after the meeting ends, you'll be able to head down there. Our wonderful advisor, Judy Hobbs, will be actually closing the event, and I read her speech and maybe cry it off. So come out and support our SGA advisor.
Something to note too, they're going to have a cappella performances, student staff speakers, and like a lot more that's going to be happening during that event. So it's something that's really important. It's important to our community and to show support, especially us being representative of our entire student body. It's important that we show up there when we are able to. Something else to point out, I'm also going to be speaking at a Home for the Holidays panel on Monday at 6:30. Please come support me, ask questions. This motion is going to be about first year students who've never had to be away from home, going home, maybe you don't have a good home life or good familiar relationship, and kind of how to navigate that if you're going through some things and figuring that out as you go along with it. So please come out and support me through all this. Look around and speaking. Something else too is that I'm hoping to record one last episode this semester. We're going to have our lovely Alice Bea, our graduate assistant, as well as Gary Taylor from the NCC, going to be on the episode talking about kind of balances and struggles of being a GA and how that works, because I myself am not a GA, so I don't know that life or that struggle. So I think it's going to be a really cool, interesting talk. And then next semester, I'm currently taking ideas. I have some that I've already thought of, but you all deal with a lot of different people than I do on a daily basis, so you probably have different concerns. And I'd love to hear them. I'd love to get you talking to me about them. If you want to possibly record with me, please do. It would be kind of awkward just me talking. I mean, I can do that, but like, you know, it'd be more fun to have someone to talk to with me. So please reach out to me. I'll send like a link out to give to Michael to give to you all if you have some ideas that you want me to explore or that you want to explore with me. Please do. Something to note too, there's a DC Cultural Exploration happening in January through MSD, Multicultural Student Development Office. So I've included that here. The link is up here for QR code. So if you want to do it, it's $150. You have to cover your meals. It's a really nice trip. You go to the African American Museum, the state capitol, and a lot of other things. Yes or no? Okay. Y'all have to keep your facial expressions like happy and engaged. Y'all be stressing. Okay, so that's something else that we have. If you have questions, email Kendall or talk to me and I'll get you in touch with Kendall, things like that. It's a great program. We're highly encouraged going. It's a CDC. So, my next slide. I have 2 slides. I'm thrilled up. So something else I want to talk about too is that I know you already talked about the ASU code. If you want to take that QR code now, you can fill it out at our time here. And again, just send the link out. But something else you know that I've done is kind of highlight a resource every time I come up here. And so this week I'm highlighting health services. Who doesn't know where health services is? And be brave, that's okay. Okay. So health services is located right in the same building as the post office, right behind our student union. So you're going to walk up those stairs, head in there past the post office, past those doors, and then go up those stairs or take the elevator. I'll take the elevator, I'm not doing stairs to health services. I'm sick already. So I go up there, and then there'll be kind of 2 areas that you go. They have a pharmacy, and then when you take a left, when you're facing it, you go in and that's health services, and you have your matrix. They have an online appointment system, so if you want to make an appointment, you can do it through online. You can also access your medical records. So if you have any health concerns that you had here, you want to look them up and see what's been happening to you, you're more than welcome to do that. I broke 2 bones my freshman year, so when I get bored and want to cry, I go on there and look at my x-rays and how my leg looks really messed up. So, you can do that too if you've broken anything. You can do that if you want to. So something else they provide. They also have injury clinics, I have to use for PT. They have travel clinics, immunization, all those great things. Definitely look them up, definitely use them. A lot of times their services will be free or covered through your insurance. You normally don't have to pay out of pocket for anything. We have a fully functioning pharmacy that's also covered through your insurance. If you have any prescriptions that you want to get sent through our pharmacy, instead of going off campus or waiting to go home, you have the option to do so. A little tidbit, just because I'm a wellness educator, they do have birth control and contraceptions and things as well. So if you want to use this, you're more than welcome to. I know it's not very, my face is getting warm. Okay. But that's just something else to highlight, so you know that we have those resources here, so you never have to do without. And then of course, myself, y'all. Stress finals are coming up. We have Thanksgiving break. Eat a lot, sleep a lot, and then come back, stress a lot, cry a lot if you need to. And then make your way out to that whole month of relaxation, because that's what I'm looking forward to. But just to kind of remember part of what I say, check in with yourself, check in with others, and be well, y'all. Thank y'all.
Lauren Moody is back.
Yes, she is. Okay, so hey y'all, if you weren't here when I presented at, I don't know, it was the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I think it was the very first Senate meeting.
Maybe
Might have been first and last, whatever, good bookend. So I was a senator way back in the day, so I'm always super excited to be here again to present. I now do ACT office stuff, so here to talk about that really quickly. And I don't want to take too much of y'all's time, but just to like preface the event I'm going to talk about, and just I think it'd be good to do right now. I want y'all to take a second to think about why you're in this room. So what made you petition into SGA or run for SGA? So take a second just to think about it. If I could have like 2 people tell me why. Raise your hands. Come on, be brave, be bold. Yeah.
So I did SGA my freshman year. I didn't know if I was going to have time, but then I walked into the office and met Walt Grayson. And he walked through what it meant to be an SGA. And I didn't have experience outside of planning prom. And so I felt like being able to have more of an impact like you do on this campus was important to me.
Yeah.
And enacting legislation that impacts students was something that I didn't even know colleges could
Yeah.
do. So
yeah, it's wanting to have an impact. What about you, someone more?
Yes, that was me. I was on SGA at the community college that I transferred from, and I really loved it. And I'm planning on going to grad school. So sorry. Planning on going to grad school for student affairs. So this is the type of thing that I want to do. Like,
Okay, yeah. But why did you join SGA like originally? Like, did you want to make a change? Were you interested in like legislation?
Yeah, I was just really interested in like helping students find their voice. Like sometimes students don't know exactly what they want or how to voice it, but they know that if they can talk to someone for long enough, they can get across their idea to the right people, and you can help them.
Awesome. Cool. Those were 2 super great answers. And like the general theme I heard from them was that you're interested in making an impact, whether it be like on this community, which is what Senate kind of immediately does, is making an impact on the community of the student body. But it does kind of sometimes go to have wider impacts throughout the community. So the event I'm here to talk to you about today is the MLK Challenge, or the Martin Luther King Challenge. And it kind of goes along with wanting to make an impact. And the reason why I wanted to start with that is y'all are super interested in making an impact through legislation, but I think it's also super important to realize that there are many ways to make social change, and it's super important to engage in multiple ways of making social change, because that's how we actually see action. So by participating in MLK Challenge or Martin Luther King Challenge, what y'all will be doing is you'll be paired with a community partner or a nonprofit in the area, and you'll get to go out and do service for pretty much a whole day. It's on MLK Day, which is January 20th. We like to think of it as a day on rather than a day off, and you're making that social change in a different way by helping out this community partner, this nonprofit, and getting to know more about the life and the legacy of Martin Luther King. And I think it's a super awesome way to get more involved in your community in a different way. Does anyone have any like questions I can answer about it? Yeah.
So normally, like, I do it through my Greek organization, and so you sign up, and then they assign different slots. So if SGA wanted to be like one of those organizations that signed up, we would just give you how many people that we wanted to volunteer, and then you would assign us the places that we would go.
So yeah, the way it works is you sign up independent of your organization. For Greek organizations, sometimes it's like they offer credit for it, but the way it'll work is you'll arrive on the day of after signing up, and you'll be put randomly in a group. So that's kind of a cool part about it. Also kind of a scary part about it, because you may have no one in a group that you know. But it's a cool part also that you get to know other people in the student body community through it. Yeah, what else can I answer for y'all? Nothing else? Okay, cool. I also will probably be back next semester to talk about Dance Marathon, but I just wanted to shout it out really quickly that registration is open. I saw some people in this room were excited about it, so I'll let them tell you about it, but I'll be back. Just wanted to shout it out that it's open. I do have my laptop with just an interest sheet for MLK Challenge that I'm going to send around, and y'all can type in your name and email if you're interested in getting just an email about how to sign up.
You're always welcome to come back.
Oh, thank you.
ASU, so let's give her a round of applause.
Okay, great. Do you want to cook these or should I?
You can do one, and I'll let you take the
So I'm Ashley. I use she, her, hers. I'm Eleanor, also she, her, hers. Cool. So we're here with Alternative Service Experience. It's through the ACT office, all connected, all great things. Okay, so why do we do what we do? The mission of Alternative Service Experience program at Appalachian State University is to provide learning opportunities by engaging in meaningful service and dialogue. So our goals through ASC are to enact positive change, empower student leaders, educate on social justice issues, and encourage active citizenship. I'm trying to go fast because I know you all have important things to do. And so just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you've heard of ASC before. Oh, awesome. Okay, I'd like to see that. So for those of you who maybe haven't heard about it or don't know a lot about it, they are student-led programs that go out mainly for spring break, but also during winter and fall breaks, and there are some local ASCs that go out for weekends occasionally. But spring break is our biggest time for ASCs. We send out just over 20 programs. Some of those are international, but most of them are domestic, which means we stay along the East Coast for the most part. These are the different topics that ASCs focus on. There's animals, poverty, special interests, which can be like the LGBTQ community, and yeah, just special things. They change sometimes. Environment is a big one for the international programs. Ashley and I are actually leading the Costa Rica program, which will be over spring break. And then you. Yeah, so there's all these separate categories, but with ASC, we have educational components, and we all like to see how these things interlap and are intersectional issues within that, so we also are conscious that they intertwine and they're all connected. There's also a lobbying program that's going out for spring break. That'll be a domestic, if you're interested in that. So yeah, programs we offer, there's fall, winter, spring, local programs. 28 total. Wow. So something we're very intentional about is calling them programs and not trips, because we don't want people to get the wrong idea. Like, this isn't something that we're doing for us. We're really trying to go to a place and help the community in the best way that we can. And ways that we do that is we work with community partners that already have ties within the community, and they tell us what they want from us rather than us going in and saying, hey, this is what we can do for you. We go in and we ask, hey, what can we do to help you and your community? So we're really trying to be intentional in making sure our service is not about us, but it's about the people in the community that we're going to serve. So the fourth pillar is service together, full engagement, thoughtful dialogue, simple living. What do those mean? Service together. Participants engage directly with community partners. As Eleanor was saying, we work alongside the community partners, not for them. Something that we try to say is we don't offer a hand out, but a hand up. Yeah, so when we're on ASCs, we try to limit like phone usage and a lot of contact with the outside world. For international programs, we usually don't have cell service, so we're kind of isolated. But we really want to be focused on building community within our program, with the students that we have gone to serve with, and also with the community that we are serving. Thoughtful dialogue. We do daily reflections within our groups and our community partners. This is one, so ASC, we think of service, education, and reflection. All these things coming together are a more meaningful experience and a more holistic experience versus just going to do service and not understanding, oh, why am I doing this? Why is this needed? And then reflection would just be us sitting around talking about our feelings, and that wouldn't be a whole lot of progress. I mean, it could be. It could be. It could be good for the soul. And finally, simple living, which can look differently depending on what program you are on. I have been to Puerto Rico, and we lived without electricity and with a little bit of running water, but it was super fun. We ate vegetarian. All the programs actually eat vegetarian to help reduce our carbon footprint, and we're just trying to be sustainable overall
and that's where Simple Living comes in mainly.
Yeah, so we worked with the sustainability department, and we actually purchased carbon offsets for like when we keep track of our miles for the domestics. We keep track of the miles we're flying. We vegetarian, often sleeping on local facilities floors and things like that. But it's fun. You get to know each other. So yeah, get connected. There's our like social media stuff. There's programs still available. There's 2 spots left for Belize and 1 spot left for Costa Rica. Right now we're pushing for our international programs the most because we have to purchase flights and things like that. They're both focused on sustainability, sustainable agriculture, and sustainable ecology. I highly recommend hopping on these. They're going to fill fast.
Our sign-up deadline is this Friday, so if you or someone you know you think would be interested, please send them to the ACT office and let them know. We really want to fill all our spots because these opportunities really are life-changing. I can speak from personal experience. I went into my first program not really expecting that much. Like I was going to Puerto Rico and I thought that would be really cool, but I wasn't expecting to learn as much as I did or gain the connections that I have. And I still talk to my learning partner, which is a faculty member here, and also other people who work with me on the program, and I really just have so many good things to say about ASD. So if you're interested, please go to the ACT office, ask more questions, tell someone you know about it, because we would love to see you on any of these programs.
And also like the organizations that you're here representing, if you think this is like, oh my gosh, I know so many people who are part of my organization that would be so down for this. We'd love to kind of collaborate and come together. Like we show up for you, you show up for us. Like that sounds like it's like mandatory. Oh, I'm trying to say. Basically like a mutual like, hey, we're here to support what you're doing. We support what you're doing. Let's learn from each other. Let's grow. Also domestic, so that can be any domestic, we've been saying that, what does that mean? It's anywhere from New York to Florida you could be going. We don't tell you where you're going, we want you to pick on those social justice issues. That sign up is January 27th. That's $200 for the whole week. That's travel, food, stay, everything's included within that week. We dropped the prices for these. You also get a class credit for these. And both of them count as 40 hours of service, so if you know any service groups, things like that are needing service hours, this is a great way to do it. That's a little video that you don't have time to watch, but it's super short. But yeah, that's all. I was really sure I can connect and get out like a Google sheet or something.
Yeah,
What's the best way? Okay.
Just send me and I'll send out an email.
Okay, so I signed up to go to the meeting today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so what are some things you would recommend for people that are going on international dances? Because I've never been out the country before.
Yeah.
I don't know, I heard some things.
Yeah.
I'm just like trying to ask, like, somebody that's never been, like, what, because you said there's spots open, so what can we expect?
Yeah, so there's still spots available. We have to fill all these spots in order to go. That's just a requirement through OIUP, and like we find like get a group package and things like that. What to expect? A really great time. To Dominican Republic my freshman year. We were sleeping in bug nets, like things like we're not staying in 5-star hotels, but I grew closest and I have still some of the best friends from there. And 2.5 years later, I'm still a part of ASC. It's one of the best things that I've been a part of here at and we make local global connections. We bring that back home. How can we implement these values and words? But they're super fun.
Any other questions for our presenters? If not, thank you very much. And like with all this, like Senate PowerPoints and special reports PowerPoint that I have, they're all on the team drive. Or at least we're going to have. All right, no special orders. Yes.
Move to suspend the rules to consider the veto override vote immediately.
Consent.
Objection.
I'm sorry.
I know exactly what it looks like to attempt to relitigate a decision the Senate's already made, but as the previous question was moved at the beginning of our meeting before I was able to say my piece, I would feel it's wrong not to let you know. Big part of my major is wanting to win ensemble. That's why I look like I belong in a funeral. This is what we wear. I know we used to do tuxes. I like that better. But I moved some mountains to be here at all. But I will have to leave in the next half hour. I know the Senate will make the best decision they possibly can in regards to the veto overriding whether I'm here or not. But I do think I can provide a unique contribution to that discussion. I am sorry again for the interruption, but I hope you'll allow me to lend my voice to this conversation.
Senator Mullins, sophomore class. I know of 3 other senators who are very passionate about this, and 2 of them are sick and didn't really want to be here at all, but they're here because they know this is the most important thing. We spent all first semester talking about it. They want to vote on it, and another one has to leave. So I mean, most people know how they're going to vote at this point. Let's get the vote over with. Let's do it. Let's see how it goes, and let's move on to other things. But we should not try to shut people down or wait until the end of the meeting when people have to leave just to see how the vote goes then.
All right, well. Senator Thompson?
Senator Thompson will propose to the previous question.
Second.
All right. We're just going to vote on
whether we should
suspending the rules. So 2/3 vote. So yeah, I clicked with you. So if you'd like to suspend the rules to consider a budget override, please vote yes. If you want to just keep on going, hit no. And if you just don't really feel your way or you want to abstain.
Make sure you guys are turning off your eye clickers between votes because the batteries don't last long.
I replaced them so they should because they don't have extras. But they do turn off by themselves as well.
So try to stay on. One more person.
Oh, Bridget left.
Yeah.
All right. Recognize the chair. The rules are now suspended. So we're just moving to suspend the rules, and then we go from there, or Senator Gibson?
I move to suspend the rules specifically to consider the agenda item. So what that did is that we're now considering the veto override vote. And then after that, we'll continue with the regular
restore the rules per se.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's think about historically the way the override thing has worked, and anybody can correct me on this, is that just clarifications that this cannot be amended. This is just solely yay, nay, abstain, 2/3, all senators present. And what we've done in the past, essentially, honestly, I think we've just debated, and then when someone wants to move the previous question, we vote. That sounds good, Senator Hogan.
Senator Hogan, Chair, sophomore class senator. I have a statement from the author of the constitutional amendment, Lee Franklin. Can I have permission to approach to read it?
Sure.
All right, so if you guys don't know Lee Franklin, he was a senator a lot of sessions ago. Not a lot of sessions ago. He's not 2 sessions ago. And then he was the director of external affairs. He's really close with me. But he was the one who primarily wrote these constitutional amendments. They're often called like the Lee Franklin amendments. So yeah, he had a big part in that. So he just wanted to write a statement because a lot of people have been saying what his intentions were, and like that's kind of like, so he just wanted to kind of clear that up. So he couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately, so he just wrote a statement. It has come to my attention that there have been some conversations about what I did or did not intend when I proposed a constitutional amendment that have come into effect this year. I could not help but laugh at that when I heard that, considering that none of the people talking about my intentions have reached out to me a single time this year to ask me what they were. I just wanted to speak to one specific point I have heard being debated, whether or not Senate leadership should be paid. The short answer is that I did intend for Senate leadership to be paid. My intentions were for the executive branch and the Senate to be equal to one another. It is a complete joke for anyone to suggest that it would be fair for only pay leadership in one branch and not in the other if we are to consider both branches equal. My original intentions were for the Senate committee chairs and the Senate President Pro Tem board to be paid. I would also like to say that right now it seems that both the executive and the legislative branches of SGA are more content in engaging in a power struggle over the budget than actually acting in good faith to execute the new Constitution. Both sides must come together and face each other as equals to resolve this conflict and to put serving the student body back in the forefront of the organization. I would be happy to offer my insight into my intentions with the current Constitution at the request of either the executive or legislative branches. I would also be happy to help reach a conclusion to this fight. So, thank you.
All right, so we're just going to keep on going. Here's a day, Triple M, Benji, Cooper.
Do we need to move to overall at this point, or was that already?
I'm just going to interpret it as we're in debate, and when we do the previous question, that's going to be voting on the override.
I think the motion will still need to be made.
All right, so I'll make a motion to override Senator Gibson.
I move to override the veto via roll call vote.
Second.
All right, back to where we were.
I just think it would be beneficial for everyone to vote fairly if we voted via iPhone.
That was not.
Personal privilege. Can everyone use their? Can you speak from your diaphragm so that?
That was not a motion. I was just arbitrarily saying something. So we're going to. That was a debate. So still not an automatic Benji, Cooper, Soyline.
Regarding the motion that was just made, I also agree with Senator Pierce today that I feel that voting with eye clickers would be the most way to reduce any bias in your answer.
Senator Gonzalez.
So point of clarification, we're in debate now?
Yes, we're in debate.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Benjamin Gonzalez Jr. I go by the pronouns he, him, his, and I represent the University College. I publicly voice my opposition to the override of this veto because I believe that, pardon, I'm sorry, a little bit nervous, but nonetheless. So the reason that I oppose to vote on to override the presidential veto is because I believe that this bill cannot be implemented. This bill basically wants to presumably allocate funds that were intended for cabinet members. I don't know about y'all, but being me, I would plan ahead in the future, and then when I find out that I'm not going to be given the money that I have been presumed to have, then that would mess up my financial planning. In addition, this bill will cause structural change to this organization, and it will, I believe that yes, Senate committees should be paid. I totally agree, but this is not the time to do it. And, sorry. Keep going. This should be, I agree with a lot of portions of this bill, for example, creating a task force so that we do not have this problem in the fall. But I believe that this basically calls for a structural change, and it would be better to discuss if we have a constitution, because it refers to Constitution too. And yes, the Constitution is a little bit flawed, but that's okay, you know, that's okay. I think I finished.
Senator Kern just has a point of information. Then Kukrow, Mola.
Point of order.
Yes.
We are talking about method by voting. We haven't gotten to the bill yet.
Point of order, we weren't talking about method by voting, we were just talking about the override, and now we're debating over the override.
That's where we're at. No, we are.
Also, point of order.
Make a motion about it.
Point of order. Please make sure that when you're speaking, that you're addressing the chair and the chair only. That's really important.
Please forgive me.
No, it's okay. Just because this is highly contentious, and I think it's important that we're not pointing fingers at people, but speaking up about things unbiasedly.
Sorry, parliamentary.
Well, technically, yes. The first statement of debate was did essentially challenge the method by which we want to vote for this bill. It is my understanding that Senator Pierce said that he wanted to use eye-clickers. I reinforced that statement. Therefore, I think that it's more fitting to try to decide the voting method now. Do you have any?
Doesn't the chair have power over the voting method?
Well, because if we're really talking about real Robert's rules, a motion maker isn't even allowed to decide the voting method. So we're just using what we have used in the past. I think that because he specifically stated that he wanted to use a roll call vote, that's what he wanted, and therefore I think we should vote on a voting method prior to continue.
Right now.
Yes.
Senator Gibson.
Hearing people, I move to amend my motion to vote via iClicker.
Second. That's a lot. Okay. We were Kukul. Devin, you have to punch it up. Devin, and Kukul. Hogan, correct? No. Okay. Okay, Kukul, Willoughby. I don't know which one to y'all can do rock, paper, scissors, and things like that. But I'm joking.
Yes. You're supposed to assign the floor based on what happens after the previous speech. You shouldn't pre-allocate the floor. It's not the Robert's rules says to do.
Usually we use first.
You shouldn't be listing out first. You should just assess pro con.
Just go in order.
I'm just going to go with her. She's had her hand up for a long time. Yeah.
Hi, okay, I'm gonna stand up because I'm kind of sick and I want to really get my notes. It looks like I'm reading off my laptop. It's kind of goes down my notes because I'm a little, I keep on wrestling right now, but it's fine. Okay, so I just have a couple points to make. I got a quote from my motivational lab today that we have to do the best that we're possibly capable of. That is our safety and responsibility. So remember, when you're voting, you should be voting in the best interest of your constituents. Don't let anybody sway your vote. Do what you feel like is the best for your constituents. Now, actually regarding the specific veto, the only specific thing I kind of had an issue with was the president can create task forces portion, because there's nowhere in the Constitution stating that. It says the president can create them, but it does not prevent the Senate from delegating them to create them. The Senate is a legislative body. We are supposed to create legislation, and we can delegate them how to execute them. I also don't really understand how that works in any precedents, and maybe you and I can later talk about that. And then I think my biggest statement was, I feel like there's too much unnecessary hostility between the two branches of the organization. So right now, I'm thinking of it as, we are one body, they are another body. We're not. We're one body and two separate organs within the body. Kind of think of it like that, if that makes sense. I don't know. I think right now what's happening is members of the Senate feel unheard by the executive branch, and it's leading towards us feeling hostile towards them. In contrast, the executive branch feels like the Senate's kind of just wasting time on the budget, and it's leading to them having bitterness towards us. So this makes it a really difficult environment to breed success and positivity. So I hope that in the future we can work hard as an organization to kind of breed out these kinks. I know especially because we're feeling really strong growing pains from this Constitution. And I would love to help work out any issues with the Constitution later on next semester, because I know it really needs to be cleaned up as we kind of just threw in new amendments, but it's necessarily cleaned up from the old wording of it. Yeah, and remember, just one last thing, we're here for our constituents, and we need to focus on them, not on any personal bias or how we feel about others in this situation.
Sorry.
So I just wanted to add, piggybacking off of that, The way that we have conducted ourselves as an organization has been shameful, and I just want to point that out. We are here not for ourselves, but for our constituents. That is the only reason why we're here. We were voted by them. We petitioned it, and they signed our petitions. Like, we're only here to represent them. And the fact that for several meetings on end, we just talked about the budget. That's crazy. Like, I applaud the amount of time and effort that those who were on the task force put into the budget, because that's honorable. However, we barely have any policy bills. We barely have any support bills. Like, what are we doing? This is our job. This is why we're here. This is why we were voted in, and we're not doing it. The Constitution is very important, yes, but so are our students, right? Isn't that why we're here? So instead of wasting our time talking about this budget for what, 4th, 5th, 6th time, because we've all had emails, texts, calls, a whole bunch of stuff about this budget, let's go ahead and get into something that matters, especially since, I just want to point this out, this is my last semester on SGA, and I really thought that this was going to be this is a surprise to y'all, some people do. But I really thought this was going to be like a bang. Like, I was going to go out with a bang. We did so much to help so many people, and we did it. And that's disappointing to me. Seriously. Because the reason why we're here is to help other people. And if you don't have that goal, then I think maybe you should leave. And anything I just said, I think it would be a waste of time to direct any comments towards me, because I said what I said. And it would be a waste of breath and my time to discuss it any further. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm glad that we got voting method out of the way, so we can. So I've heard concerns about implementation. I've heard concerns about how much time we're spending on this. I've heard concerns about constitutionality, and I want to address every one of those. So implementation-wise, I've spoken with a handful of university administrators. I know the introducers of the bill have. Everybody's spoken with administrators. This is implementable, 100%. And even if it's not, we're setting a historical precedent. There's too much value in the bill. Even if that any single part of it isn't relevant, the rest of it is just so good, so valuable for historical standing. This is telling us what we want SGA to be. So just if there's a single part of it that you don't like how it's implemented, I don't think that should spoil the entire bill. Constitutionality-wise, I'm sure everybody got the veto statement, the call to order, that email from Vice President Davis. In it, there's notes of constitutionality a lot of times. I don't think any of those are correct. The Senate is specifically empowered to, the CFO is specifically responsible to the Senate regarding the distribution of funds and budget. This is just setting the CFO's responsibilities. This is establishing the responsibilities which we're constitutionally able to do. Specifically, I also wanted to address Resolve Clause 6 and 7, the 10-day veto period thing. As far as bills go, finally passed bills have gone through the executive process. Like, they either get signed or lapsed into passing. So I think that's just out of hand, not relevant, and I think there was a misinterpretation there that is possibly understandable. I'll leave it there for now.
Triple one, Devin, Cameron. I know.
Hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I'm going to be reading off my laptop, but I kind of want to piggyback on some information that other senators have already provided. This bill that we're discussing today was overridden because there were a lot of issues regarding ethics and structure. While it is completely understandable that members of the Senate leadership should be compensated for the hard work that they put into the completion of the tasks that they have decided to accept, it is completely unacceptable to attempt to make these changes halfway through an academic year. As you may know, organizations such as this require time to implement changes to ensure that no one is harmed and that they are implemented at the best time for the entirety of the organization. Taking money that has already been allocated to other members of the SGA is deceitful and completely unethical. This should very much be an issue that should have either been addressed over the summer before the first round of scholarship disbursement occurred, been an issue brought up during the original constitutional changes that created the Senate leadership as it is today, or been an issue that was talked about and addressed before the next session of the SGA, which is our only logical option yet. Furthermore, this bill, with this addendum, aims to raise the policy subcategory of the Senate category from $2,000 to $4,400. Again, this is an issue that is extremely valid, being that we obviously want to expand our outreach to our community regarding policy changes that we want as an organization. But rushing it like this seems fairly unethical as well. Considering the fact that it is November and we are just weeks away from the end of fall 2019, and the Senate has not allocated any money whatsoever towards policy enforcement, it is not appropriate to allocate a year's worth of money for the spring semester, that $4,400. Unfortunately, the SGA is incapable of saving money. By that, I mean that the SGA loses any money not used throughout the fiscal year. This money returns to the university. This is concerning because it could result in the administration believing that they are overfunding the SGA and could result in cuts that would hurt everyone present today, as well as all of the students that we represent. This bill also creates a discretionary fund for the Senate portion of the SGA to allocate funds via legislation. In the addendum, it is titled discretionary. Under the Senate category, it has a value of $1,335.87. However, there is an issue regarding this subcategory because, as our Constitution states, in Article 4, Section 3, Subsection A, Number 1, the Treasurer shall have the power and duty to receive and disperse all ASU SGA funds, maintain control over said funds, and ensure that no accounts are overdrawn. If you don't believe with this, if you don't believe in this statement or in what this Constitution portion says, then that's something that can be addressed next semester when we have an entire committee dedicated to completely changing our Constitution if we would like to see that. This means that ultimately the approval or disapproval of any fund disbursement falls under the responsibility of the sitting CFO. Should this subcategory proceed within our budget, it ultimately belongs under the category of SGA. Furthermore, creating a line item that may or may not actually be utilized by the Senate brings us back to the aforementioned problem. Not using it could result in lower funding in subsequent years. The 10th resolve clause of SB 053016 states, no category of the budget shall be overdrafted without the prior approval of the Student Senate through a properly passed motion or legislative act by the Student Senate. This clause creates a massive issue. We all know that it is completely impossible to budget perfectly because at the end of the day, a budget is defined as an estimate of expected expenditures. It is not the balance sheet. This clause would make an overexpenditure of even 1 cent inadmissible if a category does not have sufficient funds without the approval of the Senate. This may not seem like a problem, but it could ultimately affect purchasing deadlines and the overall productivity of this organization. A lot of the issues that we have as an organization stem from the fact that we have created an environment where there is a lack of active communication between branches of our organization. I ask you all not to think, what can the Senate do for the student body? Rather, ask yourselves, what can the SGA as a whole do for the student body? Over the last couple of sessions, we have reinforced a toxic communication system between the Cabinet and Senate portions of SGA. We have enforced a system that allows for the most educated among us to be silenced. They spend countless hours specializing in the fields that we categorize ourselves into, and yet their speaking time is limited to the Cabinet reports section of our meeting. Furthermore, we have arguments over whether or not our advisors can even speak during our meeting when they have consistently been present over multiple sessions of the SGA, and they are the experts on what has happened in their time here. I hope to address this issue in the future as I believe that it is a fundamental flaw that limits our productivity as an organization. Anyone that feels the same should feel free to reach out with any questions, comments, or concerns they may have. The passage of this budget has also resulted in several members of our organization feeling threatened and personally attacked for their beliefs regarding the passage of this bill. This is completely unacceptable and goes counter to the direction that I believe this organization is aiming for, and therefore I feel the need to make a statement regarding it before we decide what we do with this bill. I appreciate all of the work that everyone has taken to get this budget completed. I know that it can be difficult to come up with your own thoughts and beliefs as new senators, to all of our new senators, when members of the 52nd session of the SGA have a vast amount of information that you are not privy to. For all of these reasons, I ask you to vote no for 053016. If you feel uncomfortable, there's no point. We're doing eye-clickers anyway. Furthermore, I would like to thank CFO Francis Zamora for the hard work that she has put in this year. From my analysis, this is the first CFO in recent years that has actively attempted to make documentation easy to understand for everyone involved. And that is an accomplishment that cannot go unnoticed. Thank you all.
Point of order, I have debate preference.
Go for it.
Hey again.
It's the decision of the chair. Bobby, you can go anyway.
Senator Maldonado and oh my gosh, Gonzalez. The amount of thought you put into this is really inspiring. And while these are fantastic discussions we had, discussions about how to amend the Constitution moving forward in the next year. And all this, neither one of these senators served on the committee that met for over 11 hours. Now, that does not mean that their thoughts are not worthwhile, but these conversations were had. Right? We did this preliminary work, and if you want to find out, you can read our minutes, you can listen to the recordings, you can read our report, you can read the budget. A lot of it is self-evident. And as far as addressing specifics, I'll let others do that because I have to run. But I will say that the budget committee, I think when we're talking about this divisiveness, I think really rose above it all in a way that was really inspiring. I encourage you to I encourage you all to remember the amount of work and thought that we put into this and realize what we're doing today. We are not talking about how can we make this bill perfect. The bill is at a disadvantage being passed in November. If this bill fails, it will need to be reintroduced, a new bill. It will need to be written, introduced, sent back. And it cannot be, on our timetable, it will not be passed until February. And then it will be at an even greater disadvantage. The best part of this bill is the last part of the actual text, which sets up a task force for executive and legislative branch from this session and the next to work together towards next year's budget during this session. If this doesn't pass, that goes away. If the next bill has it, even if it does, if it passes, should have already started by then, right? So what we have here is it's an all or nothing right now, and I want you to think about what are the odds that if you vote no on this, that the next budget to come along will have more care and thought put into it, considering what has already been done. Senator Willoughby is right that we need to move on. The only way to move on is to pass this thoroughly reviewed budget today. Otherwise, we will just protract this for another 3 months. Again, I want to thank everyone for all of their hard work. It has been a pleasure working with you. Of course. Point of personal privilege without a hand.
Trombone, right?
Yes, sir. Good night, everyone.
Okay, just quick. Who plans on talking? Is this just these four?
I still am not.
No. I'm not the four.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna.
All right. Hello guys, I did not prepare a speech. You probably already got my statement. That was the main thing I had to say. So I'm not reading off my laptop, just speaking from passion here. Firstly, I think the really first important thing to say is in addition to the extreme amount of hard work Francis has put into this, and thank you so much, Francis, for all that you've done. You've done more than any CFO has ever done for this organization. But in addition to that, I wish I had said this in time, but he scurried off like he usually does. Jay has put in a massive amount of work in addition. The two of them together have just done a phenomenal amount of research. Jay met with over 8 administrators on how to properly implement this bill and brought all of that information back to the budget committee when we considered that. He spent, in addition to the 11 hours that the budget committee met and discussed, he spent time outside of that preparing information, research, the agenda, and such forth. I want to talk about the specific things I like most about the budget. It's not perfect, that's obvious, but we have to start somewhere. We talk about policy bills. We need more policy bills. I know there are senators that are sitting on policy bills right now because we're waiting to see if we have a budget that we can actually draw money from, because that was the intended purpose of this. I am one of those senators. I have a policy bill that I'm planning to introduce. I would like to draw money from it. This allocates $4,400 to actually helping the student body. That is something all of us agree on. It's something that we all joined SGA for. We want to help the student body. We want to have a more direct impact on the student body. This budget is the first budget out of all the budgets of this organization that shifts money from internal excessive spending to actual direct direct change for the student body. And that is an incredible thing. Second thing, I heard phrases tossed around like cabinet is the most educated among us, or it is ridiculous to take money from them and such forth. This is a fact. Every single person in this organization is equal as a student leader. Nobody here is less educated or more educated. Nobody here is more capable or less capable. It is my vision for SGA, and I hope that people agree with this, that every single person in this room has the ability to make the change that they want to see on campus. That should be the vision of SGA. Should we work together as a collective body? Absolutely. That is what we always have to do. It is healthy for the two branches to disagree. It is helpful to have this kind of discourse because it makes a good bill. We saw a bill last time, the bill I presented, and I got up there and fought for it, and I told you to vote for it. And we decided not to do that. That's why we sent it to the budget committee. And then the budget committee made these changes. Every time we don't get a perfect bill, are we just going to keep putting it off? That is going to ensure that we never have policy bills. We have a chance right now to pass this bill this semester, and Ayana is absolutely right. We have failed this semester. This should have been decided in the summer. We had conversations in the summer about this. This should have been decided then, but unfortunately it wasn't. Now we can vote this bill today, we can pass it, and then next semester maybe we can get our act together and we can start doing stuff. Maybe we can spend that $4,400. I promise you, if none of you do it, I will spend every dollar of it helping you see that. Every single dollar. I also want to speak about implementation. Last year I wrote a bill called the Climate Neutrality Act, and when I met with the university administration, they told me, yeah, this is a joke. This is not getting implemented. I've never said that because I don't like to think that the shit I've worked so hard on was a joke. But that's what they told me. But the chief sustainability officer of Appalachian State, who's the one that told me that, he also told me this. He said that SGA should pass things that are not implementable because we are the voice of the students. Just because it can't be done doesn't mean we shouldn't fight for it. That is unacceptable. We have got to fight for the most bold, radical vision. They wanted me to push climate neutrality back to 2040 or something like that. No, 2025, because we've got to pull the needle. If we push this back next year, there's no guarantee Senate leadership get paid next year. If we think we're equal leaders here, we started this year. We pass the bill now, and we go into implementation, and we try to fight for it then. But we can't even have that discussion until we pass a bill. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. If we don't pass this bill this semester, there are so many things that are taken off the table for next semester. And paying people equally is one of them. Another big thing is that whenever we go and take our budget to the university, everybody here agrees that nobody's getting paid enough. I don't think Cabinet is getting paid enough. Frances sure as hell is not getting paid enough for how much work she's put into this. I don't believe President Milborn is getting paid enough. Now, I sure as hell don't think Senate leadership and committee chairs are getting paid enough because they're getting paid zero right now. But the fact of the matter is nobody's getting paid enough. We need more money. Our SGA makes less than every SGA in the state. That is absurd because we're like the second best. They all agree.
NC State.
NC State. We got some politicians.
NC State is the most extra. They got their own room.
Yeah. If we start empowering Senate, we can maybe beat them because they have a really powerful Senate. And two, which is a better negotiating strategy to take to university? We give Cabinet a raise, they get $1,650 because of the constitutional changes that went into place, and now we're going to argue that we need more money after we just gave everybody a raise? Or is it a better negotiating strategy to go into the offices of university administration and say, look, we had to cut everybody's raises just to pay our leadership. We need more money. That is a far better negotiating strategy. That's where we're at right now. We have got to pass this bill. We cannot keep talking about this.
Are these the last three?
There's someone in there, why not?
Okay, just gonna, I mean, there are some things, this is important, but there are some things that we're going to stay here until we do because they have to be done since it's the last meeting. So just something to consider. That's Senator Hogan.
Senator Hogan, she's here for sophomore class senator. Okay, so can I come up there? Sure. Okay, thank you. I just want to look at everybody because I'm in the front row and I can't see everybody, and I want to talk. I want to look at thing. Yeah. Okay. So I often have this like whole persona of being like this like really tough, like I'm a woman, you know, like that's like my whole vibe. But I'm just gonna kind of like calm that down for a minute because I'm really tired. Just in general, I'm tired. I'm tired of talking about this budget. I'm tired of people treating me like I'm self-interested, like I'm up here to promote my own well-being when I asked my constituents what they thought about the budget and they told me, and that's what I fought for. And when you say like, oh, there hasn't been any policy bills this year, I passed the most policy bills last year. I'm working on empowering other senators to work on legislation. It's not just on us, everyone has the opportunity to write legislation, and I feel I'm just very, tired. That's the word I'm going to keep going back to. I'm really tired of just the way that I feel like we're all treating each other. And I'm to blame in some of that way too, but I'm tired of this idea that we're not fighting for students, because I think all of us here have this intention to fight for students, and we're all trying to do what's best. We just have different ideas of what the best is, and we're out to get there. And I think it's important that we all recognize that we're trying to do the best. To talk about some specific things on the budget, some people are saying it's not constitutional. Rules Committee decides that things are constitutional. They decided it was constitutional. It's constitutional. I mean, that's just how it works. So, I don't know. I mean, I just think that like all these issues, we've talked about them over and over and over again. I'm tired of talking about them. I'm tired of, quite frankly, I'm kind of tired of being in this organization right now. And I don't want to be tired of being in this organization because it's my favorite thing on earth. Or it was last year. And so, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Benji, Coco,
So, am I supposed to present myself again like Benjamin? No. Okay.
You do whatever makes you feel the most comfortable.
Okay, thank you. So, like, responding to Senator, no, Gibson. It is true. I was not involved in the committee for the task force. I had a lot of stuff going on this semester. Most of y'all do too. But in these recent weeks that I've been able to put myself back on my feet, I've done some more research. I've tried to get more involved. And one thing that I find that President Milborn said that really, which is why I'm not supporting the override, to vote to override the veto, is because he said, and I will have him accountable for what he said, is that he is willing to have a better, more connected conversation with Senate leaders. And I believe that, yeah, we're delaying it, unfortunately, but we have the possibility to make a better bill because, and mark my words, I will have him accountable because he said that he is willing to compromise. He's willing to compromise with Senate, and I believe that that's a good step. And in addition, I lost my train of thought. What else? I think that's good. Thank you.
Oh, I just had a point of information,
Sure.
I guess. If you are going to speak again, you don't have to say everything, just maybe say your last name.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not looking at
Thank
your
you.
last
Thank you.
name. Yes.
Yes, some approval.
Okay, so a couple things, from kind of listening to people. One thing, I understand Francis Sico, and I've had conversations with she's a wonderful person. However, she is still responsible for the executive branch and Senate. If you look at Article 4, Section 3, Section 8, Number 6, CFO is responsible to the Senate for all financial transactions. So while she does kind of hold some discretion, she is still responsible to us. Kind of looks like regular government, where executive gets to do what they want with how we delegate for them to do. Additionally, the budget, we're kind of like, think of us like the purse string. The Senate should have the ability to cut off the money if we feel as if the executive branch isn't executing the legislation that we're passing. Additionally, I understand our Constitution, you read it, and it's like, we are a strict governing body. We're a recommending body. If you talk to any university administration on this campus, we are a recommending body. And that's why I think you should vote yes to this override, though I do say vote how you want. Don't let any of these people tell you to vote one way or another, influence your vote. My thing with this is we should be passing something to the best of our ability. I understand it probably won't be implemented. I've spoken to plenty of senators. I've looked at plenty of bills where I've been like, hey, that's never happened. So first we have like the Condiment Act. There's no prices on the condiments. That never happened. Senator Schiffman wanted to pass a bill at the beginning of the year, and we discovered that there was a bill about the Senate Usage Act where someone's supposed to be keeping the list of all senators so that any senator can give it to the Senate office at all times. That's not happening. Even with the Climate Neutrality Act. We are a recommending body, and we should be, even if this isn't something that's possible to be implemented, we should be holding this bill to the highest of our standards and saying, this is what we would like to get done. This is how we want this to happen. And I believe that if we're sitting here like, we'll push it off to next year. My biggest fear is that continuing to push it off to next year will get rid of all of the hard work that everybody has put towards in this bill. It will get rid of all of the hard work that's already been done this year. It will also get rid of a precedent that we're trying to set that, okay, maybe they won't get paid this year because the bill won't come to full fruition like they wanted to. However, we should still attempt to pass it so that we are setting a precedent that at least, hey, next year, university administration, we wanted to do this. We did not have the funding to do this, so we're going to try and do it again this year. We're hoping we can get more funding. Because as everyone said, I've spoken to at least 3 other SGAs, and we are the most underfunded. Like, Chapel Hill doesn't even pass a budget anymore because they're such a hassle because they have so many different things going so many different places. It's ridiculous. The last point I wanted to make was kind of the harassment type thing. I feel like that's kind of, again, going both sides because some things have been said by people on both sides that have been making people feel belittled as if their opinion is not important and things like that. So I just think, again, vote how you want. Don't let anybody telling you to vote one way or the other. Again, this is based on how you feel about your constituents. And you need to respect other senators and other members. And I feel like right now, from both the Senate to the executive and from the executive to the Senate, that's not happening.
Thanks, guys. I just wanted to.
Senator Belger has already spoken. Individuals who haven't spoken yet will proceed with your call.
Maybe we'll suspend the rules.
We're still in debate.
Yes. So Bridger has.
Bridget has the final word.
Or she speaks and then I speak, since you said that she had the final word, but now, because she hasn't spoken, I'll get it, but I only just want to make a clarification.
I'm going to talk.
It's all right.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, if we're going to same class. I wanted to convey a message from non-Senate. That's all I'm going to say, I guess. All right, so I think there's been a lot of heat around this budget, and I've been here for 3 years, and I've never seen this before, and I know there's been constitutional changes, and there's been a lot of change in general with who's been in the Senate, what's been happening before, and what is happening this year. And I think at this point, I think we should vote on it tonight, and I think we shouldn't push it off anymore, and I think the budget is integral to this organization. But anyway, I think President Milborn, and I'm speaking for him and I apologize, but I think he's willing to advocate for student chair people to get scholarships. And he would love to work and help them get paid, but it's important that it's a collaboration between executive understanding and Senate preferences. So that itself is an opportunity for this budget to be passed today, and for this compromise to work between Senate and executive to work on these changes that need to happen in order for everyone to be happier within this organization. Furthermore, the rest of the budget is great. The policy is great. And I think, I'm not speaking very well and I'm very sorry, I'm just overwhelmed and I don't want to step on any more toes because I feel like that's how everyone else has felt in this process. And it's important to understand, if we vote on this budget tonight and it gets passed, then we have a budget and we can work towards something else other than this, which I think is the most important thing that we should be talking about. And I think that's all I would like to say.
I would look favorably on the motion to move the previous budget. Y'all, are y'all going to be fast? This is going to be completely real. Is this everybody less than a minute?
I just wanted to make, actually she's not spoken.
Yes.
Priority
Yes.
of 8 goes to person who has spoken.
Okay, yes.
Senator Thompson, Warren College Business and Administration. Do we want to vote?
We moved the previous budget. Time for the moment we're all waiting for. So, here's how it's going to go. A is yes to vote for the overall budget. D is no, C is abstaining. Yes, A is yes to vote for the override. B is no, C is abstaining. Yes, Senator Zay. What?
My clicker's dead.
My battery, yay!
Has everybody voted? How many people do we have?
I wrote it. It's all personal.
Who has not voted? Just Artist share?
He voted just now. Alright, we're done. 19 yes, 14 no, 2 abstentions.
So now as the chair, the override does not pass. Bills need a...
Wait, what?
It's a two-thirds vote.
Gotcha, okay, thank
So
you.
2/3 of 35 is what?
20.
Oh, wait, 35.
29. I mean, it's a bigger number, so it's the number of yeses. Not as a lot. I mean, it's going to be...
Part of information, how many abstentions were there?
There were 2.
Do abstentions count towards no's?
Yes.
Yes, because yes, because the Constitution says 2/3 of all senators present.
When you abstain, are you removing yourself from the vote though? Because you have the right to
It
not
doesn't
vote.
make a difference if that's what you want. I mean, it's
I really appreciate that.
Hey, come on, we're gonna come in. Okay, so 2/3 of, okay, 2/3 of 35 is 23. So, I mean, 22.5, so 23. So 1914, even, I mean, so bill is vetoed. I mean, this bill is dead. So, yes.
Could you explain what needs to happen next, or do you think that's necessary for now? You know what, I rescind that, let's move forward with the rest of the agenda.
I just think that, I mean, we have 4 bills in 20 minutes, so I'm really yes to Senator Thompson.
I have my time to put no more.
You can't do that.
I can't do that?
No. Implementation. Oh, if it's about implementation, yes. Well, yeah.
Implementation of the budget. Cool. So, everyone, I want to extend this invitation in person. I know we said it in an email. I would love for everyone to take part in the budget process and for everyone to be educated on what goes on and know the black and white facts of what is actually happening, so that we can make educated decisions, because we're supposed to move as one body and we look ridiculous right now, to be honest with you, and it's very hard to do my job advocating for more funding for us into next school year if we can't even get our own budget together. So I'm super, super open to everyone coming to the budget meeting. I know we have the time. I think everyone on the committee has the time, but everyone is invited. I'm not going to make you wait until after the meeting is over to speak. Everyone can speak. We'll just have like a light Robert's rules. Everyone will get to give their opinions, their suggestions, et cetera, but hopefully it can be a nice dialogue so we can have precedent for the future, for next administrations, where it's going to be collaboration, but it be true, transparent collaboration and not people getting information and presenting it in ways that might not be 100% accurate. So, questions?
No. Sorry.
Senator Mobley.
I'm not sure how to do this, but I have work. Can I move my bill to the top? How do I do that?
Well, we've suspended the rules, so one of the things I was going to propose is do them as a slate, and each person come up and present. Because simply, these are super time permanent, and we just simply are not going to be able to go through the full question process and everything that for every single bill. So what I'm deciding is that every presenter is going to come up, present their bill, quick Q&A and everything, and then vote on all as a slate. Some of these are extremely time pertinent. I know specifically the Meal Plan Reform Act. I was reached out by Don and Pam presented. They wanted to support it at the Friday trustee meeting, and so I think we'd be disappointing them. And a lot of the stuff like Quinn and Roots Garden and the flu. I mean, we don't want to be passing it back in January. So have a great break. So, what was the first one? Artist Shear. Quinn used to Jack. Yes. I mean, the rules are still suspended at this moment. You never used to work on it.
Well, the suspension was only to work on the veto override and not.
Point of order, I'd like the rules report read.
Yes, sorry, just for all the slides and things right.
Okay. Good evening. The Rules Committee met on. This isn't the right slide. Sorry about that. The Senate Committee on Rules considered SB 053018 in a regular meeting on November 14th, 2019. Before that, the Academic Affairs Committee met to consider the bill. Sorry, first time with the committee again tonight. The Senate Committee on Student Affairs, found the bill favorable and objective in favor of research. The Student Affairs Committee additionally made a few minor grammar amendments and updated full information. The Student Affairs Committee specified that the following comments be presented to the Senate. This is a good safety net bill to make sure students are getting their fair usage over their facilities and not being taken advantage of by university athletics. The Senate Committee on Rules considered SB 053018 in a regular meeting on 14th. That's a day after the Student Affairs meeting. The Rules Committee found the bill general and objective, general and research, general and technical merit, favorable to constitutionality. The Rules Committee specified the following comments be presented to the Senate. We admire your work on this bill as it is clearly an issue that the student body feels is important to them. The committee believes, however, that the bill can be further expanded upon by adding further whereas clauses that extend the research and clarify the issues that led to the bill. We think that this can be done by Senate amendments. Thank you for your work on this important issue. Congratulations on your first bill in SGA. Are there any questions about the rules report for SB 053018? Thanks.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Pass. You go ahead. Just.
Cool. Good evening, everyone. Of course, this is the Quinn usage bill. I would like to note, unless something has changed in the last, say, like 24 hours, there's been no official word as to what's happening with Quinn. So this, I'm getting a look, but I don't know if I can say anything. But I don't know what's happening with Quinn. I wrote this as a general safety net bill. Lots and lots of students use Quinn and use all of the facilities there, and I think it's important to stand up for that usage and make it clear and make SGA's presence on Quinn clear as well. It is slightly vague because there wasn't plenty of information when I was trying to write this, but I would, if you think there should be amendments made to this, I'd look favorably upon that. Thank you.
We can just, we don't have to do this later. We're just gonna, yeah, let's just go back to, I'll look favorably on motion regarding this point.
Whatever questions then goes to take 7 motions.
Sorry, it is. Questions. But you did your closing statement, right?
No, isn't that after questions?
Questions? Any questions? We'll now take a look at this.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you consider this bill. Well, I guess I had lots of students use Quinn, and I'd like to keep it that way. When?
Yeah.
This one, I think I want to yes,
I move to adopt Bill 053018 via
We're going to do a quick I-clicker votes for the record. So, you know the record, you know the drill. A is yes, B is no, C is abstain. As long as we is everyone voted? 33, everybody voted. All right, and I, as the chair, it's unanimous vote. Congratulations. Will the presenter for SB 053018 please approach? I mean 019, the 41. I got my numbers all mixed up. Yeah, 021.
Hello everyone, my name is Ayana Willoughby, sophomore class senator and the chair of wellness. So this year, I'm not going to go over the whole bill, I'm just going to go over it kind of briefly. So this year we had the privilege of working with health services to have 2 free on-campus flu clinics. That's a mouthful. And so last year there were over 500 cases of influenza-like illnesses diagnosed, and there are only 200 free flu shots given out. This year, 628 free flu shots have been given out, and only 186 cases of influenza-like illnesses have been diagnosed. So, So normally flu shots are around $20 to $25, but with this bill and with the work that's being done by health services, they're free if you present an app card for all students. So I believe that this is a great bill to show support to health services. I got all my data in the bill from Margaret, who is the administrative director of health services. So if you were wondering about that. But I believe this bill is a great way to support health services and show that SGA as a whole is concerned about the wellness of our students and our student body. Yeah.
Yes. Connor, can you please do the rules report? Sorry. I'm just
Sorry.
really just trying to use the most of this comment.
The Senate Committee on Rules considered SB 053021 in the regular meeting on the 14th. It was introduced for Article 1, Section 2 of the Rules Committee bylaws. We found it favorable and objective, general and research and technical merit, favorable and constitutionality. We also specified that the following comments be provided to the Senate. The Senate rule these efforts to address the issues of vaccination on this campus are commendable, and it is the committee's belief that this bill supports the values of the SGA and the Appalachian State University. And while the research is commendable, there could potentially be more details about the benefits of vaccinations, considering the amount of misinformation that people might have about these issues. Are there any questions about the rules for SB 053021? Lightning tax rules.
All right. Any questions for the presenter?
Mr. Chair, there are no questions for the presenter.
We're going to take a closing statement.
So, like I said previously, this is my last semester a part of SGA, and I know it's really sad. So this is my final bill. Regarding the rule statement, I didn't include more information about flu shots in general because this is not something that you have to do. This is just a resource provided to students on campus. So whether or not you wanted to get a flu shot is not influenced by this in any way. If you wanted to get a flu shot, you would have gotten it anyway, regardless of how you feel about it. So I didn't include that information just to keep the bill brief so that my presentation wouldn't be as long.
Move to adopt SB 053021. Second. Yeah, I did it. What's?
Yeah, do that. All right. I don't need to repeat myself.
You
don't. 33-0 again. Bills passed. Will the presenter for the Garden support? Will the presenters please approach? And will the rules of court please be given?
What a personal privilege. Sorry, takes your turn.
Silence granted.
The Senate Committee on Rules considered SB 053020 in a regular meeting on the 14th of November 2019. The bill was introduced to the committee for Article 1, Section 2 of the Rules Committee bylaws. The committee found the bill to be favorable in all four categories. The Rules Committee specified that the following comments be presented to the Senate. The extensive research and work on this bill is exceptional. The committee believes that this bill sets a good precedent for future bills. Anyone who wants to come before the Rules Committee in the future should look to this as a great example of a support. Thank you for your attention. Are there any questions about the Rules of Court SB 053020? Thanks. I should become an auctioneer.
Okay, so hi guys, Sam, I'm a senator, sophomore as well. So this is basically in response to the issues that's arisen because of the Roots Garden and some administration wishing to potentially pave it over, and the conversation around that. Senator Mullins and I spoke with people involved with the Roots Garden, including Kylie Holloway, who is a intern with the garden, and we felt that it was necessary for us to put out there a support bill so that SGA can support something that a majority of our constituents also support. Is in the petition, there's over 3,000 signatures. And there's a lot of whereas clauses. Basically, these are just research. This is research showing the economic, health benefits as well as educational benefits for community gardens, and I think that this is important.
Yeah, so there's, like most support bills, there's a lot more whereas clauses than resolve clauses because support bills really don't do all that much. But we did put 3 resolve clauses in our bill, and I'll kind of run through those. So the first one is simply that as a student government, we support the existence of the Roots Garden. We're really intentional about the wording of this, and that we're not saying that we support keeping it there. We're not saying that we support, or we're not condemning it being paved over. We're not supporting it being moved. We're not getting into the actual mud of the fight that's going on. We're simply saying that the Roots Garden has done amazing things for the community. People have put a lot of work and effort into it. It's helped with food insecurity, which is a really big problem here in the high country, and we want to show our support for the existence of it. The second resolve clause basically says that we are encouraging, not mandating, not formally recommending, not any of those things, simply encouraging a university to facilitate an open dialogue about the Roots Garden. We understand that the alternative perspective that's being proposed is to pave it for a parking lot. Parking is a really big issue at App State in Boone, and we don't want to get into the mud of that because we fear we wouldn't be representing some constituents in that case either. So really, in the nature of representing everybody, we simply encourage the university to create open dialogue because that's what's been lacking so far. We can't even get a direct answer of whether the Roots Garden is going to be paved over or not. And then the very last resolve clause, basically, this is kind of the more bold part of the bill. It basically says that if the university doesn't do this, then SGA will facilitate our own funded or partially funded event that will bring people together and have that open dialogue. I'm just going to be real with you. This was the policy bill I just said I was sitting on that we had policy money for. So this might not happen depending on how much policy money we get through. But I feel like we can still do it even if we don't actually contribute to the funding of it. We could still possibly try to just put on something. It would just be less funded. But we're still going to make sure it happens if the university doesn't do it. And that's all of the last resolve clauses said. So.
Sorry, this goes Mr. Lee.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a question. I just wanted to go ahead and clarify that technically any and all of you do have the capability of requesting funding from CFO Francis. I don't want, if there is a policy bill that requires money, feel free to speak to her. She has a multitude of resources and is capable of providing you money with anything that you need, regardless of whether we have a budget or not.
Yes.
So the current Office of Sustainability, I don't know how formally for this. Have you talked to Jen Maxwell and Lee Ball with the Office of Sustainability about that?
Yeah, so we've had